Hi, this is Les-Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. To give you an idea about how long I've been watching the Cleveland Browns play, I could count on my right hand how many games I've missed in person or on TV since Jim Brown came from Syracuse to play for the team. I can count on the other hand the drafts that seemed wrong at the time. The first one was back in 1954 when quarterback Bobby Garrett of Stanford was taken. Garrett couldn't make the NFL for a good reason. It had nothing to do with hand size, escapability, or the inability to throw from sideline to sideline. It was none of those. Believe it or not, the great Paul Brown drafted a quarterback with his first pick on a guy who stuttered. He was unable to get the play from Brown's messenger guard, then relay it to the rest of the huddle, then go to the line of scrimmage and beat the play clock if they had one in 54. Anyway, almost every draft looks good when they have it, and then you find out in training camp that maybe it wasn't so good. The first two picks over the weekend, Wills and Delpit, look pretty good to me. As for the rest, let's wait and see. And hopefully, we'll get this thing settled and we won't have to wait too long. We've got Tom Withers here tonight. More Sports and Les-Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les-Levine, it's a Monday night. It's a brand new week. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les-Levine into its 24th consecutive year, seen exclusively on cleveland.com. Seen exclusively with us is a guy we think is one of the best there is anywhere in the country from the Associated Press. That's Tom Withers. Welcome back, Tom. How are you?
Les, I'm well. It's great to see you. Today's been a day where I've been reconnecting with some colleagues and friends from around the country, and I would include you on that list. It's really good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Well, great to have you with us. It's been a while since you've been to this world. You haven't been to this worldwide headquarters, I don't think. You were at the other.
I haven't. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you were at the other worldwide headquarters.
I was at the other world headquarters. I think the last time you and I connected actually was at the MAC tournament last year. So,
right.
Needless to say, a lot has happened since the last time we sat down together.
Yeah. Well, hopefully a lot more will happen. We can get sports back where it belongs in our world once we take care of the other stuff. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. You want to talk to Tom? You can also email us during the show, reallesslevine@gmail.com. All right, let's get right to it. Busy weekend, which we couldn't have said recently. Not much sports to talk about, but we had plenty. And you know what? It felt good to do that. I don't care if it was in Roger Goodell's basement or wherever. It was good to be back.
It really was, Les. And you know what? A few weeks ago, I really kind of was wondering if it was the right thing that the NFL was doing. You know, I thought there was a time there where it almost seemed a little bit insensitive to be thinking about anything other than, you know, the first responders and healthcare workers around the country, et cetera. But it was a great diversion. And I really thought, you know, all things considered, with all the logistical problems that could have happened, it was very smooth. And I think when we watched it as well, you really felt a much closer connection to the players and their families, obviously, by being invited into their living rooms or wherever it was that they were gathered when their names were called. So I thought, all in all, it was, like you said, a nice chance to get back into sports for a little bit.
And the star of the show was Bill Belichick's dog. Who knew?
Was that fantastic or what? I mean, the timing was perfect, too. I mean, the dog jumps on the chair just as Bill gets up, and
right.
The Patriots on the clock. It was absolutely perfect.
Oh, you don't think that was planned?
Oh, it probably was. Yeah, knowing Bill, right?
All right, let's get right to it here. You got first of all,
the way of getting over on all of us.
Right. Browns made some moves today. They pick up the fifth-year options on both Myles-Garrett and David-Njoku. Not surprised about Garrett, but Njoku, they seem to be drafting around him or signing around him. Tell me what you thought, what their thought is on Njoku, who I think was going to be a kind of a secret surprise because he wasn't Stefanski's guy and could have made some headway.
Yeah, you know, it's been interesting, Les. I've been really puzzled by the way people have kind of jumped off the Njoku bandwagon, if there ever really was a bandwagon. But obviously he was a very productive player 2 years ago in Baker-Mayfield's rookie season. And then last year, obviously, he breaks his wrist in the second or third game, whatever it was, against the Jets, misses 10 games. He's had a problem with drops. We've talked about that, but he's still a young player. And I mean, really young as well. I mean, he was, I think 20 years old when he was drafted by the Browns. So he's shown some production. Clearly Kevin Stefanski loves himself some tight ends. And he said the other day, the more the merrier. So, with Hooper and now Harrison-Bryant and then David-Njoku, you've really got some depth at that position.
All right, so help me out on this. Is part of that because they're concerned about the health of their wide receivers in Beckham and Landry, or do you think if they were concerned about that, they'd go for that position rather than fill up on the others somewhere else?
Yeah, I think more the latter, Les. I do. I don't think that they're necessarily worried about. Obviously, you're always going to worry about injuries, but I think they're pretty convinced that both Landry and Beckham are going to come back much healthier this year. They both were dealing with a lot last year, and we didn't find out about a lot of that until very late in the season. So I think it's just more about Stefanski and the kind of scheme that he likes to run, and he really likes to utilize that tight end. He doesn't necessarily have a slot receiver per se. He tends to put his tight ends in that kind of position. So yeah, I think they were good picks. I like this Harrison-Bryant kid. The more that I've heard about him, the kid from Florida Atlantic, the John Mackey Award winner last year. He also has some background as an offensive lineman in high school, so he knows how to block and clearly he knows how to make plays.
I think the Browns can save a lot of money on their scouting expenses. Just get us a season's pass to the SEC games.
No kidding. I guess that was around the league, though, Les. I've always been of the mind that when you're on the clock and there's ever a doubt, you go for either the best Alabama or best SEC player available.
You're a traitor. What happened to Ohio State? Come on.
I'm still a proud Buckeye, but you can't go wrong with those SEC boys.
Yeah, 216-575-0403. Let's go through the list. And just as names pop up, Tom, just give me whatever comes to mind here. Let's take a look. You mentioned
Sure.
Wills and Delpit. So there you go. Day one, of course, they take the offensive tackle. The only question about him, I think, is can he move from the right side to the left, right?
Yeah, and I don't think that's that big of a deal, and we heard Andrew Berry say a couple weeks ago that tackles are tackles, and I tend to agree. I think in Bill Callahan, they have a very good offensive line coach. This kid is clearly an unbelievably, stud of a player. He was blocking for Tua Tagovailoa's blind side while at Alabama, so I don't think it's any big deal for him to go from the right to the left. And Delpit's a guy, Les, that in watching LSU as much as we all did last year when they won the national championship, he used to jump off the screen to me. I mean, he was a guy that was consistently making plays for that LSU defense, and I think he's a really solid pick and obviously a place of need for the Browns. In terms of Elliott, heard nothing but good things about him. Phillips is the one guy that I was a little unsure about. I thought there were maybe a couple of linebackers better at that spot. Bryant, I mentioned before. Mick Harris, now here's a kid that played center and guard at Washington, and they really raved about them and really did their homework on him. And I'll be honest, Les, Donovan-Peoples-Jones is a guy that I think is one of the biggest steals in the draft to get him in the 6th round. As an Ohio State guy and obviously a Big Ten fan, I've watched my share of Michigan games, and with all the problems they had at quarterback up there, he's still a guy that was able to make plays, and I think his best days are still ahead of him. I really like that kid a lot.
Yeah, I thought he was going in as a 4th rounder at the most, but he held off till the 6th. We don't want to hear that Ohio fans hate Michigan. We don't want to hear that, do we?
I think that is one of the most overrated things that's happened around here. And I think a lot of it had to do less with Braylon Edwards kind of used it as an excuse, I thought, in many ways. Look, there's been some great Michigan players that have played for the Browns. Leroy Horde, Steve Everett, Tom Darden, just a few to come to mind. So I don't think people really make that big a deal about it. As long as you're playing well, right?
In the Belichick days here, other than Bernie, I think that Steve Everett was the most popular, and that's hard for a lineman to be, but I thought he was among the most popular players on the team.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of an overplayed narrative at this point. And like I said, I really like this kid. He was one of the most highly touted high school recruits going to Michigan. And then, they were cycling through quarterbacks, up until Shea Patterson kind of, solidified that job over the last season and a half. They were constantly changing. I think that was a big problem up there. And Harbaugh really hasn't been sure of what kind of offense he wants to run. So, like I said, I think the Browns really got themselves a steal there.
Yeah, and I think Urban Meyer was high on him also. So that covers the Ohio State thing. Let's take a look. There's some undrafted free agents signed today. Let's see if any of them stick out or Or are they just practice players?
I think they're just guys at this point. I really haven't done my homework. I'll be honest with you, less on a lot of them. Always good to have a Princeton guy, Princeton guy in the building. Another one, right? They got plenty of Ivy Leaguers over there
Right.
now. So hey, listen, there might be a gem or two in there that they find. There might be obviously some practice squad guys or potentially some special teamers. So the one thing about this year list that was very interesting was one of the reasons maybe you saw so many SEC guys and big program guys taken was that, the teams weren't able to bring a lot of these guys in because they just couldn't travel. So there might be a couple of hidden gems in there as well.
Right. All right, just quickly, let's run over look at the defense, see if or the offense rather, see if anything sticks out as far as signees today. There you go. This is the defense. Any names? Same thing, Tom, as with the offense?
Yeah, same thing. I really don't know a lot of these guys. I mean, obviously, not too big of schools there. You got Oklahoma State and Baylor. Obviously, those guys have faced some good competition as well, but really don't know a whole lot about all of them.
216-575-0403. The only comment I think I'd like to make just as an overview of the weekend is when you see this, what's the word? What's the buzzword? The getting together? What is it this year? The buzzword of the team. Alignment. Okay. Under the alignment situation, it's surprising when you see Stefanski and Barry and DePodesta. You're surprised that
all getting along.
Yeah, all getting along, and somehow, some way, Freddie Kitchens survived through it at least to get the coaching job last year. Go figure.
Yeah, what a concept, right? Everybody being on the same page. Maybe it took Andrew Barry, leaving Cleveland and then coming back and maybe kind of understanding a little bit of this dynamic. But I'll be honest with you, Les, I've been very impressed with him so far. I thought he did a really nice job in free agency. I thought this was a very astute, smart draft, which we'd expect out of him as well. And I've been very impressed with Stefanski as well. Look, we haven't had a whole lot of interchange with him. We've just been doing these Zoom meetings and what have you. But I find him to be very personable. And talking to the people that I know in Minnesota, they've all had great things to say about the coach as well. So I'm very excited to see what this regime does.
Well, what I like to see is that even though they might have been the smartest guys in the room, they didn't remind you of it over the weekend.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet. Stand by on that. Tom Withers, Associated Press, is with us. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. The Ohio Lottery, they've given away a ton of money, as you know, and you can win. You can try pick 3, pick 4, or pick 5 to win up to $500, $5,000, $50,000 twice a day from the Ohio Lottery. We'll take a break. We'll come on back in a moment. More Sports and Les Levine continues. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine with new content posted each and every day. We've got a question of the day, as we always do. We'll read some of the great comments we got from our viewers and listeners. We'll take a break. Come on back in a moment. More Sports and Les Levine exclusively on cleveland.com.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Do you like Ohio State football? Would you like to get information from me, Doug Lesmerises, about Ohio State football without having to look at my face? We have got the plan for you. Become an Ohio State text subscriber through cleveland.com. You send a text, 614-350-3315. What do you get? 2, 3, 4 texts right in your phone every day about Ohio State football. Inside information, polls, voting, all kinds of things. You can be on our podcast. We take text subscriber questions on our Buckeye Talk podcast every week. If you really want to be involved with Ohio State football, in season or out of season, become an Ohio State text subscriber from cleveland.com. Send a text to 614-350-3315. 14-day free trial. What do you have to lose? $3.99 a month after that. 614-350-3315. I'll see you in your phone.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had 2 choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
27th of April, Enos Slaughter, great World Series hero for the St. Louis Cardinals, born on this date in 1916. John Morrow, former center for the Browns. Tie game, 1947. George the Iceman Gervin, Chris Carpenter, and Keenan Allen, all born on the 27th of April. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Tom Withers of the Associated Press. He leads off all press conferences. Is that just understood that when no matter what regime comes in, that we look to our right first and go to Tom Withers?
Oh, I don't know. I think, I don't know. My colleagues have been very nice to allow me to have that privilege. Let me put it that way.
Well, Helen Thomas, you took it from her.
I used to work for UPI. That's where I began.
There you go.
I owned a little bit from the great Helen Thomas.
216-575-0403. Tom is with us. All right, we're going to play process of elimination. Obviously, most people would look at the first two picks that were made and would say that's a good pick, or those are good picks, at least based on the scouting reports and the needs of the team. Who other than that, go 3 through 7. What is the best draft pick, or the one that they bamboozled everybody by taking?
I'd have to go with the tight end. I don't think people were really expecting that. I mean, obviously we've talked about Kevin-Stefanski and how much he likes tight ends and how much he values them. I don't think a lot of people had this guy on their radar, I guess mostly because of the school, right, Les? But I don't think people talk about this being a small school. I guess Florida Atlantic has like 37,000 undergraduates, so it's not exactly a small school. I was impressed when I looked at the kid's numbers, how well he played in games against bigger schools. He had 6 catches for 79 yards in their season opener at Ohio State last year. So everything stood out to me about this kid. I mean, he's got all the intangibles. The size, moves well. We talked to a couple of the scouts the other day. They talked kind of the blue-collar work ethic and all those kinds of things you like to hear about in a guy, kind of a coach's dream, willing to do whatever it takes. Transition from, as I said before, an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman to a tight end in college and was wildly successful. So he's only got a couple of years at the position and clearly room to grow.
And he had Lane Kiffin as his coach with the pro background, and I think that probably entered into it a little bit. It was a surprise to me because of the free agent signing of a tight end, making him the highest paid tight end. That doesn't mean he's the best. It just means luck of the draw. He was there when the big money was coming out.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And then, that factors in with Njoku as well. And that's why we were all, trying to guess exactly what was going to go on with David's future. But hey, listen, this team needs playmakers. And I thought, especially at that tight end position when Njoku was down, Baker-Mayfield didn't have that safety valve over the middle. And I thought that was a real needed piece, especially with him coming back this year, especially given, the injury situation last year with both Landry and Beckham. So again, as Stefanski said, the more tight ends, the merrier.
Well, I thought the most refreshing thing is something you just said half a minute ago. We're 20 minutes into the show and Baker Mayfield's name didn't come up till then. So the fact that if you're not looking for your quarterback, there's so many other options available to you. The quarterback kind of, if you need that quarterback, he runs the gamut from top to bottom.
That's a very good point, Les. I thought the thing that really struck me this year too about the Browns is that they weren't necessarily looking for that savior, if you will, right? There was no need to go out and get some big splashy player, whether it was a quarterback or the top defensive player or whatever. They stuck to what they needed. Wills was available, and they insist that he was the top-rated tackle on their board, amongst an elite class of tackles. If they had taken any of those four guys less, I don't know enough about that position to make a real calculated, educated difference in how they played. I felt like any of those four guys would be great, and the fact that they got the one that they wanted, even more kudos to them.
Tom, I totally agree with that they had four guys up there. Now, the odds tell you that doesn't mean all four are equal. One has to be better than the other. Your job as the scouting people, find the guy that's going to be the best 3 years down the road.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why I said before, and I only say it half joking. Then you go with the Alabama guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that, and Andrew Berry even said this the other day about Wills. I mean, he's been coached, and he's been coached hard. So, that's another bonus as far as getting that guy is concerned.
Your bigged steal of the draft, you sort of mentioned early on in Peoples-Jones, I assume.
Yeah, I really thought that was a really solid pick. I kept waiting. I'd heard so much about this wide receiver class. There being 20 to 25 guys, if not more, that could come in and make an immediate impact. Let's be honest, Les, with the way the game has changed now, it's all about guys out on the perimeter and guys that can make plays, and whether that's on the defensive side to shut somebody down, or somebody that can go up and get the ball. And to me, this is a guy that can do that. I think it's going to be interesting. We've all been waiting to find out who that number 3 guy is going to be on the Browns. Everybody kind of couldn't figure out why Rashard Higgins had kind of fallen out of favor last year. So this kid has a chance to come in and really make an impact right away.
Yeah, and it said the NFL comparison is Juju Schuster-Smith. If that's correct, we'll take that in about a minute.
Sign me up, right?
Yeah. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. When we get back, we're going to take a look at what some of the top scouts and scouting services think how the Browns did, along with the AFC North teams. We'll do that when we get back. Northeast Factory Direct, 3 great locations, plus the website, northeastfactorydirect.com. East side, west side, south side. South side, of course, in Macedonia. You're going to pay less money than you're going to pay anywhere else. And if you can find a lower price than what you paid, Alex will refund it immediately. We'll take a break. We'll come on back in a moment. More Sports and Les-Levine with Tom Withers continues on cleveland.com.
Celebrate NatureStone's 30-year anniversary with a free NatureStone floor. During 2020, we will be giving away 30 free floors to 30 very lucky customers to say thank you for making NatureStone the best concrete flooring solution for garages, basements, and more. Call or visit naturestone.com today to register to win, and we'll send you a copy of our new buyer's guide absolutely free. There's no purchase necessary. Winners will be chosen monthly. With over 30 million square feet installed for more than 60,000 customers, it's easy to see why I always say, it's not just a floor. Wow, it's NatureStone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Time for a How Come Quickie. Tom, how come if the award for the pitcher with the most wins, 511, is named after Cy Young, why isn't the one with the most losses, 313, also named the Cy Young Award?
That's an awesome question.
What's that?
That's an awesome question.
Sure, you give him credit because he won some games, but he lost a whole bunch.
How many starts did he make, by the way? 4,000?
He had a pitch count, 300. you optimistic about baseball coming back at all in some form?
Whew. Yeah, in some form. I'm still not sold on the Arizona and Florida models. I don't know if that's going to work. I think we're gonna find out something probably this week from MLB in terms of games being canceled or maybe a targeted date. I think less as states phase into these reopenings, we're going to learn a lot more going forward. It's just still mind-boggling that we're at this stage, but we're here, and so I think MLB and the NBA and the NHL are doing everything they can. I'm getting to the point though too, Les, where, and I tweeted out this earlier today. I'd love to see the NBA and NHL be able to finish their season, since both of them were about 80% done to begin with. But it's almost to the point where I think they got to start thinking about maybe scrapping those ideas just so they can save 2021 and not push everything back so deep into the calendar year.
Not mess up
baseball's concerned.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was saying, as far as baseball's concerned, you could hopefully see that maybe by middle of July, when we would get normally to the All-Star break, that maybe games can resume without fans, and then we just kind of slowly creep our way back to normalcy as more testing becomes standardized and more widely available.
All right, let's take a look at what conceivably could happen this year with the NFL, who trying to act that things are normal. Let's see the AFC North Draft and see what they did. Obviously, the Cincinnati Bengals, they wouldn't have the guts to not pick Burrow, right?
No, that was about the biggest no-brainer we've had in a long time, Les.
Absolutely. All right, then they take T. Higgins, so he's got somebody to throw to, and added 3 linebackers in a row, by the way. So I'm not sure about that, but it looks like they've helped themselves, assuming obviously
they
Burrow.
Sure did. Yeah, I was a big T. Higgins guy, by the way, Les. He was a kid that I was thinking if he had held on to 41 for the Browns, that would have been a perfect guy to get a big playmaker. And yeah, the AFC North, as you're going to go through right now, got a lot better. Not only the Browns, but everybody else in the division did as well.
Well, the Baltimore Ravens had no problem drafting an Ohio State guy. They take Patrick Queen first with the 28th overall pick. Then they get the number 2 from 2 Buckeyes. They get J.K. Dobbins and also Malik Harrison, and they added a couple of wide receivers. So they're not going anywhere soon. They're going to be tough to replace as the division winner of the AFC North. National draft grades were put out by some of the drafting services. Let's take a look at them and see where they put the Browns and some other people. This Pro Football Focus, and the Browns rely heavily on them. A- for the Browns, an A for Cincinnati. Baltimore gets a B, and Pittsburgh, who didn't have a first-round pick, gets a B-. You agree, disagree? Anything pop out at you when you look right at that?
Yeah, boy, it's interesting to see an A+ there next to the Cleveland Browns, isn't it? I have a hard time grading these drafts, to be honest with you, Les. I think you got to wait, 2 or 3 years at least before you can really put a definitive grade on it. But you mentioned a player before. As an Ohio State fan, watching J.K. Dobbins over the last few years, he just looked like a guy to me who was going to be able to quickly translate to the pro game, and I was just stunned beyond belief that he would slide out of the first round, nonetheless, to all the way to 55, I think it was, where he finally went. So, a real nice player. Then Malik Harrison was a guy who I think was available when the Browns were up to pick Phillips, and he's a kid that I really thought would do a nice job with Cleveland, only because a little bigger, kind of a run stopper, has to improve in space a little bit. But I thought the Ravens did a really nice job.
Dobbins, I think the problem with him, at least with holding on that long, is the style of play. And I was hearing Harbaugh talk today that he might not have been the guy he wanted or not on their board, but you can't pass up a guy like that, and you find a way to use him. I don't think he fits into the Lamar Jackson way of playing the game, but you got a guy like Dobbins. How do you not take him?
That's what I thought, Les. He was a guy that we saw at Ohio State that could run between the tackles, could get out and catch the swing pass, and had game breaking touchdown scoring ability every time he touched the ball. So that was a real head scratcher for me.
And only Archie Griffin has gained more yards than Dobbins in an Ohio State uniform. All right, let's look at some of the draft grades nationally here. See what they're thinking as they go on. This is from Pete Prisco of CBS Sports. Baltimore Ravens get the edge, A over a B- to Cincinnati, B+ rather to Cincinnati, and B- to the Browns, and Pittsburgh with a B. And we continue on. Let's see what else we have to look at. Sports Illustrated, this is Andy Benoit. He's got the Ravens at an A- along with Cincinnati. Cleveland at a B+ and a C for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Benoit explained what he was thinking about. Let's take a look. If Wills pans out quickly, this Browns offense could suddenly meet the expectations that were placed on it a year ago. Quarterback Baker-Mayfield will have the protection he lacked last season, and he'll be playing in a smart, quarterback-friendly scheme under new head coach Kevin-Stefanski, throwing to a more familiar Odell Beckham and working with the balanced run game headed by Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Interesting, because last year we didn't worry about Baker Mayfield. We thought coming off his rookie year he had nothing to worry about, and that's kind of changed. The rest of the guys around him look pretty talented.
That's exactly right. I think the tackle situation last year, Les, went from bad to worse as the season went on. They really tried to kind of band-aid that left spot with Greg Robinson, who they'd gotten more than they could have bargained for the year before with him. And then, Hubbard just wasn't getting it done over on the right side. And I think that had a lot to do with the way Baker played, almost kind of, skittishly, if you will. He just wasn't as confident in that pocket. And I think that had a lot to do with what was going on at those tackle spots. And, at this point last week, it was starting to kick up with the Trent Williams rumors. And I am glad that the Browns didn't go that route. I didn't see that being a good fit at this time for this team. You'd be investing in a guy who was 31 going on 32, hadn't played in a year. So I'm kind of glad that they eliminated that and they stuck with their board.
Doug, does this look like a team on paper that, and they've also added more playoff teams? Does this look like a team that should and could contend for that playoff spot?
Absolutely, Les. I mean, they should have last year, right? I mean, we look at all the problems they had with the coaching. There were some tough injuries. Yeah, there were some bad losses. I mean, there were some games the Browns just kind of let get away from them. So, I don't see any reason why this team shouldn't come in with, aspirations to win 9 or 10 games. I mean, let's be honest. I think they should have done that last year. And in talking again about the injury situation, specifically with OBJ and Landry, I really think that had a lot to do with Baker Mayfield's regression last year. I also think that, Baker probably didn't spend as much time in the offseason last year as he needed to working on his craft. He got married. Obviously, he did more than a couple of progressive commercials. So I don't know if there was the dedication that was necessary. And I think Browns fans have to look at this as not only a pivotal upcoming season for Baker Mayfield, but a pretty pivotal offseason right now where he's got to get himself into better shape and really work on his game.
216-575-0403. Tom Withers, Associated Press, is with us. Mike Masetta from Nature Stone will join us in a moment. Explore your interests. Find a program that puts you on a path to a bright future with Tri-C, offering more than 1,000 courses and over 140 career and technical programs. Go to tri-c.edu for more information. Tom and I return in a moment. More Sports and Les-Levine, seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
Well, hello, everyone. Let me tell you a little bit about Browns Football Insider. For only $3.99 a month, you can get text sent right to your phone each day from me, Dan Lobby, Scott Pasco, and Ellis Williams. In addition to that, you'll receive a Football Insider newsletter every day with special things from us, things that you won't see anywhere else on the site. You'll get breaking news, analysis, features, film breakdown, and things like that. Texting us directly gives you a great chance to cut through the clutter of Facebook, Twitter, other social media, and avoid the trolls. Also, it's the only way to get your questions on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. So why should you sign up? Try a 14-day free trial. You can cancel at any time. All it takes is one text, but you won't want to cancel. We have hundreds of subscribers join us over the last year. They love it and have stayed with us. We're seeing the Football Insider community grow every week, and it's only $3.99 a month, which is less than 14 cents a day. What I like most about Football Insider is the opportunity to connect with you one-on-one and really communicate with you. So how can you become a Football Insider? You can click on cleveland.com/Browns, the blue banner at the top of the page. Or easier yet, text me at 216-208-3965. Again, that's 216-208-3965.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant, whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
This date in sports history, April 27, 1983, Nolan Ryan of the Houston Astros, before they were cheating, records his 3,035.09 career strikeout, passing Walter Big Train Johnson as the Major League Baseball's career strikeout leader. He finished his career with 5,714. Johnson is number 2, but that's a different Johnson. That would be the big unit, Randy Johnson. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Tom Withers with us from the Associated Press. Tom, we're going to bring in Mike Masetta from Nature Stone. Practice this when you see him. Say, "Wow, it's Nature Stone."
Wow, it's
Nature Stone.
That's all you got to say. Tom Withers. There you go. Mike Masetta with us. Mike, we've got the guy that it's not news until he says it's news. That's Tom Withers. Feel free to attack him in any way, shape, or form you want to do that.
That's right. It's good to be with you guys. Thanks, Les.
All right. Had a draft last night. Finally, something to do with sports related. And by the way, Tom, I want to talk with you after this a little bit about Michael Jordan, if we can do that. What did you think of the draft, Mike?
I was happy with it. I think that they stuck to what made sense, and they picked the 2 biggest players of need and what they thought were the best players on the board. I thought it was interesting that they went so heavy SEC. I think the first 4 picks were all SEC kids, and stuck to pretty much the bigger schools, with the exception of the tight end. I also felt that the tight end, I believe his last name is Brooks, phenomenal player, and gave me a little cause for concern. Although I think that they picked up the option on Njoku today. But it gave me a little cause for concern with Njoku, because they signed Austin Hooper, and then they drafted this kid. And, there's 2 tight ends. Although, if as many times as I've talked on the show about football, I'm a big proponent of tight ends. I think that they're, other than the quarterback, they're probably the most important position on the offense, particularly for the quarterback. They can do so much. If you have good ones, you can never have enough good ones. It's almost like having starting pitching.
Yeah.
With tight ends, because there's a lot of things you can do with them.
Tom, is Mike right that the game has changed now, that tight ends are, for a while tight ends were not much as far as being thought of, but it seems to be changed right now. And fullback.
Yeah, I mean, you look around the league, man. There's just some phenomenal, whether it's Travis Kelce or George Kittle, and the way some of these younger coaches now are utilizing their tight ends,
and
almost as receivers. I mean, there's plenty of teams that will slide their guy out, their tight end, far to the outside and use them. So Mike's right, and I think as we mentioned before, this Browns team, we're going to see with Kevin-Stefanski that there is really going to be a lot of utilization for the tight end, and there's going to probably be 4 tight ends on this roster, and he's going to play all of them.
To both of you, was there a guy, Tom, you mentioned one player that you thought they were going to take and then they didn't. Can you think of any as the role was being called, you say, well, I'm for sure they're going to pick this guy, and then they don't. But you can, when it was all said and done, you could see why they did it. Mike, was there a guy that you would hope they had taken when they got right down to the nitty-gritty?
Well, I thought that they were going to take Winfield over Delpit, personally. I just from what I had read about him and so forth, I thought Winfield was the better choice. But then when they took Delpit and they explained that he had this injury that he played through this entire season, it kind of made sense as to why they took Delpit. But that was really the only spot where I thought that they were going to take a different player than what they did. Same position, though.
All right, do either of you think there's going to be a trade now for a linebacker or some way to shore up some other position, or do you think they're going to just take their time here, take a deep breath, and see what settles in? What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I think they'll be patient here, Les, to be honest with you. You know, in some of the conversations that we've had privately with Stefanski and Andrew Berry, they've urged us to be patient with this. I mean, I think they realize that, you know, while it's a team that should contend this year, for them to really be a Super Bowl contender, they're probably going to have to go through, you know, number one, another season, another free agency class, and another draft. So I think, you know, and obviously they still have like $38 million under that salary cap. So there's a lot of things that they can do. But I think other than maybe a trade for a veteran linebacker, Les, I think you're going to sit pat for a while.
How about Vernon? He'll be a member of the team, it looks like?
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like over the week, what we heard from them, that, you know, they still expect big things out of Olivier. I mean, he's another guy like Njoku that had a pretty serious injury last year and missed significant time. So I'm not sure if they know what they've got in Olivier yet. And then obviously when you compound that with myles-garrett missing the last 6 games last year, you really weren't sure what you had out of your defensive end position to begin with. So I think they're fine. I think there'd still be a hope that maybe they could restructure that contract because, you know, $15 million is a lot to pay that guy. But I still think they feel like he could be a productive player for them.
Mike, quickly here, do you now think when you look at this team on paper that they're not far away or they're right at the spot where they want to be as far as playoff contention is concerned?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I think that they're in the same position. I think there's more talent this year than last year. I think that they've upgraded the team. But from a playoff perspective, I think that they're in the same position this year that they were last year. The expectation is they have enough, both offensively and defensively, to get into the playoffs. And, you know, I felt the same way last year. I feel better about the team because I happen to like Stefanski. I listened to him talk on the radio the other day after the draft, and I really enjoy listening to him, and I'm not big on listening to coaches talk during press conferences. I just don't. It's not something that I look forward to. I look more forward to watching the games. But I enjoyed Stefanski. He had me engaged, and I listened to the entire press conference. I think that they're in a better place now because they have a better coaching and probably a better front office with Barry and his staff. That's just my opinion.
All right, Mike, great job as always. Stay safe out there, you and your family. Hope all is well. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, you too, Les. Thanks a lot for the time, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay, Mike Macetta from Wow, It's Nature Stone. So that's what Mike is thinking. Northeast Factory Direct. I know what I'm thinking. I'm thinking you're going to save a lot of money when you buy there. 3 great locations plus the website, northeastfactorydirect.com. West 140th Street, Lakeland Boulevard, and Euclid and Freeway Drive. That's in Macedonia. Sokolowski's University in. They're waiting for the word when they can get back into action. When they do, there are a lot of great businesses out there that deserve your support. These guys, one of them, Mike and Bernie Sokolowski, they've been in business since 1923 when the grandparents started it off. Good enough to win the James Beard Foundation Award some 4 years ago. Only 5 in the nation get it each and every year. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. We'll talk to Tom Withers, and we'll get our Facebook question of the day and your responses. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get Nature Stone for up to half off and never replace your garage flooring again. Cracked, uneven garage floors are dangerous. Thin paints and poly coatings you can do yourself are slippery, peel, and don't correct problems. Why pay for a floor that won't last? Only a professionally installed Nature Stone garage floor is safe and corrects problems that paints can't. And Nature Stone comes with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty. So there are no hidden maintenance costs. Schedule online today at naturestone.com to qualify for up to half off. Hurry, offer ends April 30th. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Let's take a look at this date in Les-Levine history. April 27, 1968, Les, in pursuit of a political science degree at Ohio State, asked his professor why the winner of the gubernatorial election isn't called the gubernator. Tom Withers, you should know that. You're with Associated Press. You would know the answer to that.
I have no. That's way above. That's out of my pay grade, as they say. Way above my head.
I'm rubbing for gubernator. And by the way, congratulations. I don't care how you are politically. This guy, DeWine, has done a phenomenal job here. Probably, along with Cuomo, right up on top of the governors who've reacted in what I think is the proper way of doing it. So
he should run for gubernator again.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Tom Withers is with us. We got a Facebook question of the day. We asked you, what is your initial reaction to the Browns' 2020 draft class? Let's take a look at some of your responses. We'll start with Dennis Davis, very happy. Gregory Sopko, seems to be overall a good draft. I'm just not going to get excited about it until they start winning on the field instead of drafts and media conferences. Lenny Obremski says, not too happy with trading away a third-round pick for next year and passing on the linebacker taken by the Saints. Len Gold, at least they didn't trade down in the first round. Looks like they stuck to a plan. Jimmy Haslam was nowhere to be found. I don't think they were allowed to be around. I'll ask Tom that in a minute. Glenn Berger, looks like they drafted legitimate offensive tackle, a good move. Donovan-Peoples-Jones could be a real steal. Disappointed they traded down in the third round and didn't take a solid linebacker. The linebacker they did draft is questionable. Appears to be a good draft so far, though. Ted Moon says very solid, nice move back and still getting Grant-Delpit. And the Florida Atlantic tight end Harrison-Bryant seemed to be a reach, but after reading more, it looks good. And wide receiver Donovan-Peoples-Jones is a great last pick. Plus, we pick up another 2021 number 3 pick. Overall, A-. Enjoyed all 3 draft shows with you and Dave Bacon. Thank you very much. I just want to say that for so many people who were watching over the weekend, Classic Teleproductions did a phenomenal job. Mike Bacon doing that, Dave Bacon hosting it, co-hosting it. Adam Meyer and Brian Walsh was tremendous. Deb Bacon, a phenomenal job. These people don't get enough credit for all that they do. Tomorrow night, Bud Shaw will join us. Wednesday, it'll be the D-Man, Dennis Maniloff, and Terry Pluto will be here on Thursday. That's a pretty good batting order with no DHs. Tom Withers with us. Tom, let's talk a little bit about Michael Jordan. And did you get to see it all?
Yeah, I haven't seen every episode, but I did watch the 3 and 4 last night. Yeah.
Yeah, he does not like and did not like Isaiah Thomas, and that hasn't gone away in 30 years. I wasn't surprised. I thought he would have disliked him way back then. I didn't think it would hold up 30 years later.
Yeah, he's still holding a grudge, isn't he? And I tweeted it last night, and it was it goes without saying that slight after the 91 Eastern Conference Finals is probably the biggest reason that Isaiah Thomas did not make the Dream Team. He was an omission from that team, and that was a team, remember, that was coached by Chuck Daly as well. So because Isaiah was regarded, let's be honest, he was one of the top 10 to 12 players in the league at that time, and I think that was a Michael Jordan call. Do not put that guy on my squad.
No question about that. And I thought it was interesting that Bill Laimbeer got the ball rolling on that, saying, let's get out of here with still some seconds on the clock. But Isaiah didn't have to follow him at that point. he could say, well, Lambert told us to do it, so what?
Yeah, exactly. And as you know, the Celtics had done it a couple years earlier to the Bulls or to the Pistons as well. So I don't know, Les, it's been informative to a degree. Obviously with not much else to watch, we're all really hoping that's going to probably be better than it is. I think for people that didn't live through those days, that don't remember, all about Dennis Rodman and what he was about, and Scottie Pippen and the fact that he never got paid, and who Phil Jackson was, and then ultimately what Michael Jordan, was as a player and what he meant to the league at that time, while Magic and Larry were the big names, and then Michael came along and just kind of took the league to another level. So I found it's been very interesting. It's probably hard for Cavs fans to watch the shot again last night, and we had to go through Ron Harper saying that he's the one that wanted to cover Michael on the last play. So all in all, Les, it's been very entertaining.
I was just going to say that over the years, it was Elo doing the covering. And by the way, we've seen it 1,000 times. He wasn't that far off. I thought he actually did a pretty decent job on him. But
oh, it did. Yeah, it was good. It was good defense. I mean, they had a hard time even inbounding the ball. So just a tremendous shot. I mean, obviously, we've had to live with that a long time here.
Yeah. Well, the problem with Elo in that last 6 seconds that he scored his basket way too soon.
They should have held the ball.
They should have held.
Had they just right.
Or put it higher off the glass or something so more time would run off. It's just incredible.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm looking forward to the upcoming episodes. I've been told that from some friends of mine who have already seen it that I think episode 5 or 6 includes Kobe Bryant, who talks obviously very lovingly about Michael, and I think people will then understand why Michael had the reaction that he did during the memorial after Kobe had passed. So I'm interested to see that as well. I was really lucky, Les. In '92, I covered that dream team with Michael and those guys, and so I'll be excited to see some of that background footage from those days as well.
Yeah, they were rock stars, no question about it. I think Cleveland fans will be interested also when they get to the baseball portion of it. Michael's attempt to make the baseball. I don't think that was a real attempt. I actually saw him play a game in Orlando, and I think he struck out 4 times and unfortunately hit the ball once, and it was a double play. But that it was Terry Francona's team and Terry Francona on that bus. I don't know if a whole lot of Indians fans knew that.
No, and Tito has talked, a lot about what that meant to him as a manager, not necessarily from the baseball standpoint, but, having that onslaught of media. You go from being a Double-A manager in Birmingham, Alabama, where you have maybe 1 or 2 beat writers covering you, to suddenly you've got Entertainment Tonight and whoever, NBC and CBS and ABC and all the nationals, came swarming down to see Michael try and get his attempt at baseball. And Tito has shared some very funny, behind the scenes stories about Michael and all that he was about.
Must have been crazy. Bud Shaw will be here tomorrow night. The D-Man Dennis Maniloff on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, it'll be Terry Pluto. We have a voicemail of Truth and Reason. If you can't get to us during the show, 23 other hours, you can get to us on the voicemail of Truth and Reason, 216-200-6650, and we'll respond to that. You, of course, see us live from 6 until 7 at that's 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and the other 23 hours of the day, you can go to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. We're going to come back one more time with Tom Withers. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
You love it, always wanted it, and there's never been a better time to get Nature Stone than during our Spring Weather Breaker sale. We're breaking spring sales records with up to half off beautiful Nature Stone garage floors, patios, porches, and more. Correct cracked, uneven concrete that thin paints and poly coatings can't. Every Weather Breaker savings comes with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, and there are no hidden maintenance costs. Schedule online today at naturestone.com to qualify for up to half off. Hurry, offer ends April 30th. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Tomorrow night, Bud Shaw will join us. You can reach him at Bud Shaw. Wednesday, the D-Man, Dennis Maniloff, Terry Pluto. On Thursday, tonight, we're very happy to have Tom Withers with us of the Associated Press. Tom, your coaching career got put on hold a little bit. You're coaching girls basketball. What was your record when that got shut down?
So we ended up finishing our season, Les. We made it to the regional semifinals and were beaten a week before everything went down. So we ended up 22-4.
Wow.
And had a great year, won our district title. I really felt bad for the team that beat us, which was Toledo Notre Dame, who ended up qualifying for the Final Four down in Columbus and never got to finish their season. I feel really bad for them. And then obviously your heart goes out as well to all those spring athletes that didn't get a chance to, potentially finish their careers. So it's been hard on everyone in so many different ways.
And as a coach, I'm not sure how you respond to that. There's no handbook on what to do. They can give you handbooks on offense and defense, but they can't tell you what to do in a situation like this.
That's so true, Les. In fact, I've tried to reach out to, a lot of the girls in our program just to wish them well and keep them encouraged. And, I think, years from now, we're probably going to see books and movies about the class of 2020, right? These kids have really had to live something, quite unusual, as we all have, but they also missed out on some big moments in their lives, whether it's prom or graduation ceremonies, things like that.
I'm going to patent the title of that movie. I think I'll call it something like, 2020 hindsight. I'm marking that down somewhere.
Oh, very good.
Very good. All right, got a minute or two here, Tom, to finish up for the night. You mentioned baseball, and what I've quoted this a couple of times in the last few weeks. Doug Maurice from cleveland.com was on a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him, what's a legitimate number to make it a real season in baseball, if you could get that? And he says the number doesn't matter. What matters is the morale of the country and the people. Even if it's a 50-game schedule, it's not going to stack up to a regular season, but it'll give hope and morale. Otherwise, you're not going again until spring training in 2021.
I totally agree with that. That's really well said. It feels like, Les, that the sports have never seemed so trivial and so important at the same time. Yeah. So, and Terry Francona spoke about something that you just mentioned, is that when baseball does come back, that's a very good sign that things are starting to get back to normal. And I think we should maybe just view whatever we do get in a season as just a celebration, right? I mean, it's no different than how a lot of us felt after 9/11. Let's just get back together. Let's get out there, and whoever wins. But let's just get back to how we feel about our country and about sports in general.
I was thinking if they pick up that the season in Arizona, and the Indians win the World Series, the second baseman Hernandez will play on a World Series team without ever stepping foot in Cleveland.
How about that? That would be fitting, wouldn't it? By the way, that the Indians would end the drought and the drought of all places out in Arizona.
Yeah, I suppose. How did you feel about the team? Nobody knows how the response will be to the players if and when they get going again. Did you like the setup of what the team looked like?
Yeah, I really did, Les. I mean, I loved the fact that they were going to keep Jose Ramirez at third base. They found an adequate person to put in at second. I was a little concerned, obviously, with the Clevenger injury, the Carrasco injury, and however he was going to respond. But I guess if there's a silver lining in what has transpired here, is that some of those guys that were hurt in spring training are going to be healthy by the time they come back. So it was going to be interesting to see how they were going to get along without Corey Kluber and who was going to step into that role. If Bieber was going to be the guy, and there were some obviously questions about the back end of the bullpen. But I thought, by and large, that was a team that still should compete for the AL Central title.
Tom Withers is as good as there is in the Cleveland media. We appreciate him coming on tonight, and we want to grab him several more times as we continue on. Tom, thanks so much for joining us.
Les, anytime. Great to see you, and everybody stay well out there. Thanks a lot.
You too and your family. Tom Withers of Associated Press. That'll do it for us. We'll see you tomorrow night with Bud Shaw of all the shows I've ever done. This was the most recent.